In a world with entirely too many shows about cars, this is another pointless automotive podcast. Hell yeah, brother.
Mm-hmm. Oh, look at that.
I know. You've got the Miller Lite. I've got the
Fuck are
black
you?
cherry sparkling water. I'm just keeping up with the theme here. I'll go back to the automotive themed beers one day, but until then,
Hmm.
non BPA lined sparkling water
Weak.
for me. Yes, it is weak. And speaking of weeks, this particular week,
Mm.
you and I, we're a day late and a dollar short, my friend. We
As
are
usual.
we are
Oh.
coming in late. You were on a plane. I was driving from San Diego. It was a whole thing. On our normal not even our normal recording day, our last chance at recording anything and pushing it live on Wednesday day. How are you, sir?
Doing all right, man. Hanging in there, hanging in there. Also, just like week and a half in the new house, so it's like it's fucking chaos, bro. It's literally hoarders buried alive. We have like special tunnels we use to get from room to room. It's just unbelievable.
Oh,
It's been
man.
good. It's been good though. And you're hanging in there, man.
I'm hanging in there. I've had a busy week. I was just in SoCal. I left and it was like, wow, it's crazy windy as I'm driving out of San Diego. And then like hours later, all of like Malibu and Pacific Palisades is actively involved in just absolute nightmarish hellscape,
Wild.
which is shitty in every possible respect.
Hmm.
Um, unless you're actually Satan, in which case, like, I don't know, then you're
He's
probably okay with it. Everyone
kind of
else,
kind of
really
his
bad.
kink, I think, too, right? I think
It's kind of his thing. Yeah, he or her. I don't know. I'm not gonna make assumptions about the great Satan.
I mean, probably a her, let's be honest. From
I don't
everything
know,
I've
man.
read.
I don't know. Probably a rich white man, if we're being honest. But
Oh,
um, but
oh.
no. So I've been busy. There's huge holes in my house. It was supposed to be like, hey, let's replace these windows to the tune of like 11,500, and now that's almost quadrupled. And all my house is a mess because like everything that's up against the walls is pushed into the middle because walls are being replaced.
Wild.
Um, but what that has done is all of this is to say that we're recording on the day that we normally push our shit live, not shit in, but our shit live. And so here we are
Oh, let's not
recording on
rule
a
out the
Wednesday
other one
evening.
there, buddy.
Yeah, the
We do
podcast
both.
the podcast is young. Who knows what'll happen here by the end,
Hmm.
and on which end. But here we are. So we
Mhm.
are a day late. We're a dollar short, and that
Always.
kind of got me thinking. Um, most of the time in the automotive world,
Hmm.
when a manufacturer buys another one or there's a mergers and acquisitions, it feels like it's a day late and a dollar short, right? And you had mentioned maybe, hey, what if we talk about, this whole all the hubbub about
Mhm.
Nissan and Honda combining forces.
Right.
And it got me thinking, like, maybe not in Honda's case, but in Nissan's case, it's like, golly, what if this happened a long time ago? What if this shit went down 10 years ago?
Yeah.
And this seems like it's almost a day late and a dollar short with regards to Nissan. But yeah, like what if we talk about mergers and acquisitions in the automotive world, which
Yeah.
is kind of unfun. So
Usually negative in nature, right? But I always
maybe,
go to
maybe not.
I always go to American Psycho, murders and executions instead of
Yes.
mergers and acquisitions. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I mean that's kind of the hot story right now. When they announced that, I think a lot of people were shocked a bit. Like Honda is generally considered a very successful automotive company,
Mm-hmm.
obviously Acura by default, and they've been doing some pretty cool stuff lately. But just Nissan has
Nissan, on the other
not
hand,
been doing cool stuff for quite a long extended lately. Fuck, dude, I don't know. Is Honda after shitty CVTs or what's going on here? And we got to mention, we're both huge fans of Mitsubishi. They get
sure.
folded into this because of
Right.
their relationship with Nissan. So it's pretty interesting stuff. I mean, maybe we see that GTR Evo Type R we've been talking about for so long. We haven't,
Ooh.
no one's been talking about that. It's going to be a hybrid with a shitty CVT, but it's very interesting. I'm interested to see what a successful car company does with two car companies effectively. And I know there's some other stuff boiled in there, but two car companies that effectively haven't done anything successful in a long time.
Well, what's interesting is so my very loose cursory has have done no homework and am not Mr. Business Major econ guy over here,
Mm.
is that the thought is you have, as far as Japanese manufacturers go, you have Toyota, which is this absolute juggernaut, this
Hmm.
this death star of the automotive landscape when it comes to just size,
Yeah.
and capability and resources at their disposal. And then you have the entire Chinese auto uh, manufacturing capability, and that is like just cresting over the horizon. This absolute like army of production and capability, and they're so far ahead of everyone else, almost everyone else in the EV game.
Hmm.
Um, that's what this was. That this is a Honda is a successful manufacturer, but they're far smaller than Toyota when it comes to resources and size and sales. Nissan is floundering. Hey, what if we get together and that way we can weather the incoming storm that is the Chinese manufacturing and capability and potential onslaught. And so I I don't know. Like maybe it's good. I'm hopeful for Nissan and by extension then Mitsubishi in this
Hmm.
exchange, right? Like hopefully they get the better half of, well, not hopefully. I hope it's fruitful for both parties because I like all three of those manufacturers.
Right.
Um what's in it for Honda other than like maybe some extra debt? I don't know. Like I don't know what they're buying.
I mean,
Dealer
there's
network.
there's always like IP that's leveraged with these deals, right? So
Yeah,
there'll be some technology passed on. Like I said, probably not CVT technology from Nissan, but I'm sure they're
technology
gonna,
and stuff.
yeah, they'll bring some good stuff. And like I said, also is like when we think about Nissan and Mitsubishi, we have to think back in time when they were actually fruitful, successful companies. And I think a lot of us still think back to those times and fondly remember them.
Mm-hmm.
I'm hoping it kind of ignites a little bit of that. That's a stretch, right? And I don't think we're all doom and gloom going to full electric world. I think we've kind of seen that kind of fear that all vehicles are going to be electric sooner than later. It's not really shaping up the way everybody expected it to.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't see that on the horizon, but I mean, Toyota's doubling down on hybrid technology, which I think is super, super smart. And then Honda just released their first electric vehicle, which is a GM vehicle, a Chevrolet, which
Right.
is fucking weird. It reminds me of like the Passport, their first, like, their early SUVs were actually a Suzu. So
Yeah.
Honda's weird with that kind of stuff, but I don't think they shy away from the unknown. So I'm hoping, like, being successful as Honda is, that they do bring that spark of life back into Nissan, because Nissan can make some good shit, and we've talked about it. We've talked about how we'd fix these companies, and I'm hoping we see some of that, man. To be brutally honest, instead of just letting these companies die, I hope they do something to brand differentiate and keep them as they were.
Yeah. And yeah, I
But
hope it's not just a brand. Like, I hope it just doesn't end up being a what every US manufacturer has done forever when you've got a struggle, when you've got like a larger overarching company that has maybe a struggling brand, and
Yep.
you go, okay, well, we want this brand to find some success, but we don't want to put any money into it. So we're just going to make this like a captive import and or platform sharing operation, right? Like that was Death Rattle Pontiac. That was the end of Plymouth. That was the end of Oldsmobile.
Saab did the same thing.
That was yeah, it was the
Badge
death rattle of
engineering.
Saab.
Yep.
And so I'm hoping that's not what I can see
We have lost the internet, Frank. It did freeze with you making a sneezing face. I don't know if that's any value.
I can see that happening with Mitsubishi,
Okay.
where suddenly you've got Mitsubishi is like this, oh, we'll make it like the entry level Honda or
Mm,
Nissan, where you've just got like decontented platform shared stuff. And it's like, we're bringing back the Mirage. And it's like a shittier Versa when it's like,
yeah,
well, like that's not what the world wants or needs. So I'm hoping that doesn't happen. I can see though a world where maybe something like the new Frontier gets platformed over to Honda with maybe like Honda powertrain or something like that. But
sure.
it's
Yeah.
it's a body on frame and a Honda body, and maybe you make it slightly smaller or more, it's got more cubby holes or whatever. Like you find a way to
Exactly.
Hondaify while the Nissan is the more rugged body on frame thing. Like I can see where there's some of that.
Can I
I
can
don't
I
know.
stop you though, Frank? Because like you
Mm-hmm.
dropped a bomb there. You said a cheaper, shittier Versa, and this is this is an
Yes. The
incredibly
world
hard
does
thing.
not need that.
Yeah, I cannot comprehend what you meant by that because the Nissan Versa is already pretty shitty. But I get what you're saying. That being said, though, too, they still make a Versa with a five-speed manual.
I
I
thought
think
they killed that off for 25. Maybe it's
that
still
made,
around.
but last year they
Yeah.
made, and it has a dual overhead cam, 16 valve, four-cylinder engine, and it barely has any features. I think you can still get roll-up windows, which is hilarious.
Ooh.
I just want to say, Nissan Versas from 2024, that package is like buying a 90s car brand new.
Yeah, I was gonna say, woo, twin cam, 16 valve.
Five-speed manual. If we
Wow.
put it on the quiz show, you wouldn't guess 2024 Nissan Versa. You'd guess like
Yeah.
1990 shitbox.
Yeah.
So that actually got me pretty excited. I watched a review on one of those and I was like, I kind of want to fucking drive one of those. But to your point, yeah, trying to build a cheaper, shittier Versa, fuck, dude.
Now with its new corrugated exterior panels, it's like a Cybertruck, but like,
Oh
yeah,
god.
cardboardian.
Yeah. Pay extra for FM radio.
So yeah, I don't know. I guess we'll see. I don't
Hmm.
I honestly don't know what to make of it. I hope it's just like, hey, we're gonna share a little bit of IP. We're gonna
Mhm.
share a little bit of manufacturing capabilities. We're going to share, some elements of powertrain and maybe like random components, and they use combined buying power for suppliers on shit that no one's gonna notice,
Yep.
right? Like wiring harness pigtails and like rubber bushings and suspension, like shit that nobody
Yeah.
will notice, but they still stay. He tried to say, um,
Third time's a charm.
distinct brands and with distinct feels,
Yeah.
and we don't end up with um, another sub brand that's basically like, yeah, Nissan is the Plymouth to Honda's Dodge. Like I
Yeah.
don't think that will happen, but I truly hope it doesn't, because
Yeah.
that would be a sad
Oof.
demise.
I'm with you, man. And like the badge engineering aspect of each brand kind of copying each other. Like we don't need three variants of the Explorer, or in this case, the Honda Pilot, right? We don't need
Yeah.
we don't need
Well,
a
I mean,
Mitsubishi version. We don't need a freaking Nissan version.
what's funny is Nissan hasn't really ever done a lot of rebadging of other manufacturers' shit. The only one I can think of is the what was it, the QX30 that we just had, which was a rebadged Mercedes-Benz GLA.
Right. That's true. Yeah.
But that's it. Like I can't think of another one. But Honda's done it.
Yeah.
Between, I mean, they're doing it now with the Prologue, which is the Blazer EV or whatever the fuck it's
I
called.
think it's the Equinox, isn't it?
No, it's the all EV. I think it's the Blazer
I don't
EV.
think so, sir. I think it's
The
the Equinox.
Tweaquinox? I don't think
Yeah.
it's the Tweaquinox.
I think it is.
Ah,
I'm pretty sure
react,
because when I heard it, I threw
comment.
up in my mouth. Uh,
Um, and as you mentioned, they did it earlier with the Isuzu products with the trucks.
a
Um,
Rodeo.
the Rodeo and the Trooper in the Acura SLX.
Oh,
Um,
those things are so cool.
I
Second gen
know.
Coopers.
Yes, let's go. So yeah, we'll see. What about some other historical
I mean,
acquisitions and mergers and things in the past? I mean,
I,
what comes to mind?
GM comes right to mind. I mean, I think we can say GM, they killed a lot of brands that we liked. For
Right.
once, let's talk about Saab for a second.
Mhm.
Uh, that was painful to watch. Uh,
I
Saturn,
was hopeful for that one too, right? Because it's like, okay, Saab is obviously needs some help, but
and
they did what bad what happens to bad manufacturers when they take over bad brands is they don't let that brand, they don't just give it an influx of money and let it execute on the things that brand was good at.
right, because there were Trailblazers with Saab badges, there were Subarus with Saab badges, there were
Mm-hmm.
it's out of control. Saturn, a company that started off by former like GM, higher ups that started a cool car company, which really caught on, kind of struck a nerve, a little bit of resonance with the people. Then they got bought out by GM and they went away when they started doing the same shit, right? Like the
Yeah,
same.
I mean, I suppose that was always a GM product, but it got the full GM treatment.
It wasn't. That was an independent company before GM got their hands on it.
Really,
Yes, sir.
I thought it was always a GM product through and through, like
Nope,
from
they were an independent company. They were former GM like execs that started the company. Kind of a
oh
cool story, and then they got absorbed back by the motherland. So
ah
unfortunately, that happened. And then later, Saturn just it lost its what it had. It just became again just other GM models. We can talk about Daewoo, but I don't know if that's a win or a loss.
yeah,
So
that's a nightmare.
then we got the Aveo, so God bless them.
Yeah,
If they came out the winner.
I mean, what popped into my head initially, what a couple, but the first one that popped into my head, which I think was one of the more successful ones, at least for a while,
Hmm.
was the quote unquote merger, although it felt more like an acquisition. The Daimler Benz
Yeah.
merger,
Yeah.
which there's a Daimler Benz product behind me, which
Hmm.
we'll talk about later. Um, like I thought that was a pretty successful merger because that took place in I think 98 or 99,
Yeah. Yep.
and there were some decent products out of it. I mean, yeah, the Chrysler Crossfire behind me is kind of a little bit of a punching bag,
Sure.
and I largely get it, but the entire Chrysler LX platform,
Hmm.
which was the the return of the Chrysler 300 and 300C,
A
the
Magnum
the Magnum, the
Charger.
Charger, the Challenger, um, all of that. That I mean, that was a recycled W210 chassis based product from
All the
Ben from
all the
from Benz.
gearboxes, like for the
Mhm.
the SRT8 stuff, Mercedes.
Yeah, yeah,
Shocking.
and imagine. Can you imagine what 2000s Dodge Chrysler would be without the LX platform?
No.
Just it would have just disappeared into the night because before
Everything.
that you had like the ghosts of the cloud cars and the 300M
The
and
Avenger.
the Chrysler Concorde, yeah, and the Avenger and like some like rebadged Mitsubishi products and like the Avenger Coupe
The
or
Dodge
the
Nitro.
Sebring Coupe. Yeah, which is funny. You can get a manual Dodge Nitro with a Chrysler, the same transmission that's in the Crossfire
Yep.
with the 6 speed
Hilarious.
Mercedes transmission. So I think that was what's funny is like we kind of think, oh, Daimler Benz, oh, it was like it cheapened both brands or whatever. You couldn't have cheapened Chrysler in say the year 2000. It
Yeah.
just
Well,
was that was like kind of bottom. I mean, you
modern
had
modern
the
Chrysler
Prowler.
kind of modern Chrysler gives them a run for their money for cheapness, though.
Well, I know, but that was it. That was the next acquisition because that was FCA. And
Yep.
so when it was still Daimler Chrysler, like it was that was a good era for both companies, I think.
Yeah, I
Eh,
agree. Yeah.
And so that was one that worked. but I feel like most of the time it doesn't work.
There's a few. I think Ford and Volvo was like overall
Mm.
pretty positive,
I was
right?
gonna go a different direction, but keep talking.
Yeah, yeah. No, so the two cars I really like are like the C30 T5, and
Hmm.
I love the Focus ST that we never got here. All rocking that five-cylinder turbo engine, and that's obviously because the two brands came together. Pretty good relationship there. Did you have something more about Ford and Volvo you wanted to throw in there?
Well, I mean, sure, because all under Ford's stewardship was that, that basically what came after the 850. Although I think technically a lot of that 800 series car, the 850 platform had a lot of Ford in it.
Had a lot, yeah.
But behind after that, with like the S60 and the V70,
Mhm.
those were solid cars, and there's a
Really
lot of
good.
Ford in those cars. And I think Volvo was largely better for it.
Yeah,
And I
yeah.
would say the exact same thing for when Ford and Jaguar, they say merge, but it's really Jaguar was largely acquired by Ford.
Yep.
And I think that was largely very good for Jaguar. I mean, we give those cars a lot of grief, and it's come up a couple of times before here on the pod how like
Mhm.
I think history looks back relatively fondly on Ford era Jaguar stuff
Yeah.
because were they the most reliable things on the planet? No. Were they far more reliable than Jaguar was prior to Ford's involvement?
Yes, very much.
Yes.
Yeah.
You can say the same for Aston. You
Mm,
know,
yeah.
Aston's pre Ford were absolute dog shit. Like the sexiest dog shit you've ever
Yeah, I
seen.
was gonna say beautiful dog shit. I think
Yeah.
is the
Mm-hmm.
appropriate description.
Yeah. And so that was but specifically Ford with Jaguar, I think that was pretty. I don't know how successful it was in the long term,
Mm,
considering where Jaguar is now. But I think in at the time it was pretty successful.
pretty
I don't
good.
know
I
if it
mean,
elevated Ford's brand, but it certainly helped out Jaguar.
it's like Ford and Volvo though. Like Volvo wasn't like a mass market like brand. Ford
Right.
Ford was. Everybody knew what Ford was and bought in troves, but like I think it did a lot for Volvo. I think it upped their game and they're on the world stage and Volvo is doing very well today. I don't know how much I'd
Mm-hmm.
attribute directly to their interaction with Ford from that period, but they've done well. There's another one near and dear to our hearts that stands out. I think is a really good coming together of multiple brands and Diamond Star Motors. Like,
Yeah.
kind of gotta, I mean, you have Chrysler in the room, Mitsubishi in prime form in the
Mm-hmm.
room. It's just, I don't know, man.
Normal Illinois in
Yeah, right.
prime in the room.
4G63 powered cars, and like, for the price point too, throwing out really good performance. Uh, I don't know. I think that was a win-win for all parties involved, and that actually had some legs to it. That little
Mm-hmm.
gathering, right? That started in like the late 80s and carried
Yeah.
forth to the late 90s. So, I mean, that's
Yeah. And what's interesting is like that whole partnership built the plant that Rivian is in now. Like
mhm.
that is, and what's funny is so it wasn't like one manufacturer like merged with the other one, but they just like it's like two really popular bands, like when half of their members of one and half the members of the other like do a side project for a little bit and they
Yeah.
release like Temple of the Dog or some shit. And and then you have like an interesting product. We're like, oh, this is actually pretty cool. And like, I'll listen to this. It's like I like this other band better, but like this is a cool mashup, you know?
Yeah, I'm
Um,
also going hungry, so this is cool.
definitely. Yes. Yeah, it's certainly different than fuck Audio Slave,
Yeah.
which was a little different because both of those bands were effectively dead when they came back and made that. Um,
Yeah,
but
agreed.
yeah, you know what's similar is Numi.
I was gonna mention that. Yeah, the Numi
Yeah,
plant situation.
because
Yeah.
the Numi plant with GM and Toyota, which was a little bit different. There was no like special like Diamond Star Motors like plaque in the car, but built in Fremont, California, and same deal. Now that factory is run by Tesla. Like now it's another EV manufacturer has come in to the hollowed out husk of a plant. And although my understanding was when Rivian took over the Norma, Illinois plant, it was like completely stocked. Like it was like this like it's like everyone clocked out one day and then just nobody clocked in the next day. So all the tooling, everything, like ham sandwich in the refrigerator, like everything was there when
For,
they moved into it.
there's like a section of 14B turbos and then some T25s for the 2Gs or
Mm-hmm.
whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. It was some, yeah.
that's cool shit, man. And yeah, DSMs were cool too. I mean, there's a lot of Mitsubishi Dodge history that we probably could
Mm-hmm.
get into too. If we're talking about sharing
That's
like
a whole episode. Yeah.
IP, yeah, there's so much there. I mean, and then Mitsubishi turbos and everything from Volvos to
Mm-hmm.
you name it, right? So like there's a lot of that kind of stuff. But yeah, this is interesting though, man. Just to pull it back to the first one, it's like Honda's such a big, successful car company, and they're doing great
Mm-hmm.
things. It's just I'm curious. I'm curious to see what this does to Nissan because God, modern Nissan, dude, it's like big Ultimate Energy is probably the only thing it's got going for it, and that's so fucking sad. But just I'd love to see Nissan come back. I think we all do. I think we all want that.
Yeah, I think we do. And I've got some, I have high hopes. I don't know. I'm hoping that this additional, like for Nissan, yeah, I'm hoping it pulls them out of the gutter.
Yeah.
For Honda, I'm hoping the additional, hopefully, especially if Nissan gets its sea legs and is actually in the black, I'm hoping the additional capital from the merger, tooling, IP, shared resources, etc. I'm hoping that can get Honda in a place where I don't want to say they start making exciting cars again because they make the Civic Type R, they make the Integra Type S, they make the Civic Si, they make but that's kind of it. And like I'd love us to get something else small and playful. And they've been talking about this Prelude thing, and it feels not just I'll see it when I believe it, but I'll see it when I'll believe it when I see it and drive it and make sure it's not a pile of just like a CVT hybrid pile of garbage.
Yeah.
Um, but so I'm hoping there can be a return of like a little sporty car, whether it's convertible or a coupe or even just like a tossable city car,
Yeah.
like a sportier fit. Like, okay, like I would love for that to happen. So I'm hoping this is a catalyst for that. Um, quick honorable mention when we're talking about
Cool.
mergers and acquisitions. What about when Volkswagen effectively bought Porsche?
I
Like
mean,
they took like half of them, and then I think in like what is it, 2011, 2012, something like that, they kind of took full ownership of Porsche, and I think that's worked out excellently for both of those brands. I mean, Porsche has never been more sought after and coveted and popular and profitable than they are right now.
right.
And that I think was helpful to get Volkswagen out of the shit sandwich that they were in 2012 and were about to waltz in the Dieselgate and all of that.
Right. Right.
And both of those brands, I mean, they share some stuff, right? Like they share the MQB platform or whatever that Volkswagen has that is the underpinnings of the Macan and the
Yeah.
GTI and the Tiger Iguana and some of that other, but like those are all distinctly Porsche and distinctly Volkswagen
Mhm.
products. And so I'm hoping that's ultimately kind of how Nissan and Honda are approached. Like, yeah, they share some stuff, and yeah, they share some like very basic platform stuff, but powertrain and feel and inputs and everything are all distinct.
Right. And it's not like Nissan ever truly challenged Honda on the world stage, even in their prime. I mean, a little maybe
Maybe in
a
the
threat on the
maybe in the
horizon.
late 80s
Yeah, but
or
not
70s,
not
probably in
as
the 70s. I think Nissan, well, Datsun was
dot.
probably a bigger player in the late 70s than Honda
Yeah,
was.
but that was so early on. I mean, like
Yeah.
anytime mid 80s later,
Yeah.
in Mitsubishi for sure. So I mean, obviously these are much smaller capacity automakers, but yeah, dude, I hope there's some trickle down success. I think you know, if this was Honda and Toyota coming together, that'd be a wild situation. But with it
That'd
being
be like
Nissan,
antitrust violation levels of
seriously,
yeah,
the guy from the Monopoly game box comes out and announces it to the world. Uh,
yeah,
but yeah, I just don't. I'm curious. I'm curious to see how this one plays out. I think there's not going to be like any the brands going away. I think they'll keep them separate, but hopefully
mm,
some of that Honda leadership and success, business success, kind of trickles down to reinvigorate Nissan because boy, that's been a downward trend for so damn long. It's kind of a joke, but yeah, kind of
yeah.
curious to see how this one plays out, man.
You think Infinity's gonna see this through? Because like I don't
We
if you
drop Infinity's getting dropped, man.
if you have Acura, do you need Infinity?
You don't do we need infinity period in a vacuum?
Sure. If
Right.
you're Nissan and you're standalone and you want to like, I don't know, try and save it, but that'd be like if Ford and GM merge and like, do you have Lincoln and do you have Cadillac? Like, no, Lincoln's completely unnecessary. You just toss it in the paper shredder.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, we say the same thing about Buick, but here we are. Thanks,
Well,
China.
here's the thing: the value of Infinity right now could not be lower.
Mm-mm.
Should we start a Kickstarter so we can purchase the Infinity brand, just like the podcast can purchase the Infinity brand? It
There's
can't take
probably still
much.
so much brand cachet and value to
I
it.
bet if we get $50,000 in a Kickstarter, we can buy that shit.
US American dollars,
Yes, such as maps.
such as.
Yeah, yeah. U.S. Americans
I like it.
they don't have maps. Um, interesting. Any last thoughts on maybe mergers and acquisitions we didn't talk about? What about when BMW in the 90s took over Rover and then
Interesting.
started putting Rover or BMW V8s and things, and
Yeah.
it was problematic, and
Yeah, that
they
didn't
didn't do that
last
anymore.
too long.
Yep.
No, I don't know, man. It's an interesting thing. I don't think anyone saw it coming. I think it was kind of shocking when I heard about it, and
Yeah.
it'll be interesting to see like how that works with because God, think of like the dealerships. Like Nissan dealerships are pretty sad, right? They're places you go when you like. It's basically like your job is your credit by here's an Altima, right? I
Right.
think effectively that's what a Nissan dealership is. So I mean, maybe this, I don't know. It's kind I'm kind of curious, you know. I mean, with a brand that's nearly valueless, only one way up, right? So
Yeah. Well, I for one cannot wait for the 2028 Maxima Accord. And there's these unholy automotive mashups um to just kind of come forth.
to
And
dominate 10 best lists for years and years to come.
exactly, yeah. I mean, it'll be like the top 10 of cars that get pushed into the junkyard and crushed into a cube within 10 years, but
God bless
a
it.
top 10 nonetheless. Um, excellent. Well,
Ooh,
would you like to play a game?
it's that time, isn't it?
I think it's about that time. It's time.
Frank is going to reach into his oh so deep hat full of
Oh,
weird,
cavernous,
weird vehicles. It is
gaping.
time, and I'll introduce the game. It is our automotive print ad quiz game show. Uh, this is a fun little game where Frank today will be reading an automotive print ad from a magazine from the 80s, 90s, up until the mid 2000s, the mid aughts, if you will. He's going to read it, omitting anything that gives it away. It's still not going to help me. I'm horrible. But I have three guesses to figure out what car he's referring to. There's no truth in this advertising world, especially the 80s and 90s stuff. It's absolutely all over the map. But I've got those three guesses. I've got 10 minutes on the clock. Every time I fail, and there'll be plenty of times and opportunities for that, he will give me a hint. Usually he doesn't. He's kind of a jerk. I think we've already talked about that multiple times. But we're going to get through it, guys, together. So 10 minutes on the clock after he reads the ad. Frank, roll that beautiful bean footage.
Oh, Nelly. So, this is a car which
Good start.
it's a two pager, and what we have here is and I'm just going to tell you right now,
You know,
I there's a non 0% chance that we've done this vehicle in the past,
oh, good,
but I
good.
really like the ad. And I'm gonna have to blank out a lot here, so you're gonna have to just bear with that part of it. So,
That's
what we have is we've got the front driver side quarter image that we love so well. Although it's kind of like floating in the void and it's at a little bit of an angle. It's like a Dutch angle, if you will.
Hmm.
Um, at the top, it says 300ZX versus RX-7 versus who? Blank. That's who. The hot new Turbo Sport Coupe, imported from Japan, that recently bettered two of the better known cars in the category in 4 separate performance tests. And as you can see from the comparison chart, rather convincingly, with a turbocharged, intercooled, fuel injected 2.6-liter overhead cam power plant that took it from 0 to 50 faster than either the 300ZX or RX-7 in a stirring 5.5 seconds to be exact. Yeah. Oversized disc brakes on all 4 corners take it from 60 to 0 more quickly and surely with an advanced rear axle anti-lock system. Handling? Crisp, taut and agile, with McPherson type independent suspension, front and rear stabilizers, and gas-filled shocks. Nothing stodgy about its lines either. An aerodynamically slippery profile endows it not only with exceptional looks, but exceptionally low wind resistance. Not air resistance, wind resistance. It resists the wind. It's got a windshield even.
You got to denote that difference for sure.
It is, yeah. Flared fenders, parentheses, contoured to accommodate massive 16-inch speed-rated radials. They don't tell you what speed they're rated for, but they're speed rated.
For some speed, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Accentuate a stance that's lean, low, and wide. Inside, you'll find the technological sophistication, electronic wizardry, and intelligent ergonomics equally impressive. With electronic monitoring of vital functions, digital instrumentation, an AM, FM, MX sound system with cassette, 6-tune speakers, and a 5-brand graphic equalizer, all controlled from the steering wheel. You'll command the blank from the comfort of 6-way high back buckets, the reassuring grip of real leather on the wheel. The blank is one of 2 blank models, imported for blank and blank, built in limited numbers by blank in blank. It's conceived to transcend automotive thinking and capabilities others consider perfectly acceptable. To see how well we've succeeded, take one for a test drive and feel the turbocharged kick to provide you. What an awful sentence. The sentence starts with, and feel the turbocharged kick that provided you know what to you know who. God, there's a period there. There's dust on my screen. That's just a really difficult end. And then at the bottom it says blank. It's all the Japanese you need to know.
All right, so
sir, I feel like you know this like off the rip. It's kind of a no-brainer. I just love this ad so much.
So good. Cool car. Comparison, I don't know, but the first line, but it was 50-50 at the beginning of the ad.
Ooh, then, can I give you I didn't read a part on here.
God, please fill me in.
Okay. So wrong. there's the it says the 300ZX, and then it's acceleration, braking, slalom speed, and cornering G's. Same with the RX-7, same with the blank, and then parentheses underneath blank it says in parentheses, that's who. And so yes, acceleration 300ZX. This is 0 to 50, mind you. 6.32 seconds. RX-7 5.67 seconds. That's who. 5.49 seconds. And then it goes on with braking and slalom and G's, and the car in mind here bests all of them. And honestly, I think it just has to do with the fact it's got 16-inch tires. Looking at the things that they picked here.
Well, it maybe not though. I think it's because they're speed rated.
That's true. They're speed rated for speed.
For speed.
That's right. Yeah.
And rated. So I was 50-50 at the beginning of the ad. And then you read a phrase saying built by blank for blank. And that kind of told me which one it was. Yeah. So we are talking about it's gonna be a Conquest TSI, baby.
It's absolutely Conquest TSI. That's who.
Can I just say the best part of that car is the seat belts that say turbo on them.
Yes, that is great.
Fuck
The
that.
seats themselves are pretty dope.
Yeah, but those
Um,
seat belts, dude, I want a seat belt that says turbo on it. Um,
okay.
these
I'm
cars
cutting
are
and pasting you a link um, to a Motor Trend article, and you have to scroll down quite a ways to actually get to the ad in question here. Um, but yeah, it's
okay. Okay. Very nice, dude.
yeah.
I don't know if we've done one of these or a Starion, but yeah, these
I
are
think I think we've done. I know we've done one
one
of
of
them.
these.
Yeah, I know we have. I don't remember if it's a Conquest or the Starion specifically, but
Good
um,
ad though. This is
yeah,
cool.
it's
This
just
is
a good
fun.
ad. I just there's so much just like random nonsense about like what was it? The crisp handling, crisp, taut, and agile. Yeah,
Crisp.
nothing
Uh,
stodgy about its lines either. Yeah, it's a good
it's
time.
it's it's too fucking good. 0 to 50 times are fucking supremely underrated and should be used again. But
Dude, yeah, imagine the new like top flight fucking ludicrous plaid you know, prostate milker deluxe version of the new Tesla whatever, and because they're like struggling to get like to best like a 1.99
right,
0 to 60, it just becomes like a 1.28 0 to 50 or something.
just bonkers. Did it say if the RX-7 was a turbo or the
It doesn't, it just
I
says
kind of
RX-7.
feel like based on those numbers, that was and that would have been a Z31 300ZX. So probably not a turbo. RX-7, probably not an FC turbo.
Yeah,
That's kind of fucked up going against a
yeah.
turbo Conquest TSI.
This is I believe from 86, so
Wide body with a
it
the
yeah,
wider
so it would
body.
have been an FCNA because there was no turbo until
Mm.
I think the Turbo 1 came in 87, maybe
88?
88.
88. Yep, my bad.
Yeah. And then 86 you can get the Z31 turbo.
You could.
But yeah, I don't think that yeah, you're probably right. So
Yeah, that's cool. Man, I love these cars. Also, the displacement of the motor gives it away big time.
oh yeah, that was it. This is like, oh, okay.
Uh,
Overhead cam 2.6. Yeah, it's
These are
kind of
sexy. I really like these. They are usually shitted up pretty bad.
yeah.
The interiors, for some reason, took a beating. I don't know what it was. A lot of them, I see the interiors just roughed right up. And I think these things were technically valueless at one point in time. So
Oh yeah.
that's what happens, right? That's the story that kills all the good cars. But man, turbo imprinted on the seatbelt, sign me up, dude. I think
Hmm.
they look great. And if
I
you don't
agree.
have louvers on your rear glass, I don't know what the fuck's
Yeah.
wrong.
Yeah, exactly. Get out of my DMs,
Yeah, dude,
boy.
slide right out of there.
Exactly.
Cool
Yeah.
car, man.
I agree. I agree. Speaking of cool cars, have you been working on any? Lord
Uh,
knows I haven't been. Well, sort of.
not, no,
Well,
not
no.
really. Well, you know what? So my Galant VR4 that I've had for 5 years
Hmm.
that I haven't even done an oil change on. I fixed a bunch of vacuum leaks like 4 years ago. I had to move it because I moved into my new place finally that we've been talking about.
Hmm.
So what do? Check my fluids. Didn't do an oil change. Check my fluids.
The fluid on the car or your personal fluids?
A little bit of both for that drive. So put some air in the tires that are like dated like 2005,
Hmm.
and drove during torrential downpours. A good 30-minute, 35-minute drive. And you know what, Frank, about that car? It did fucking perfectly.
Of course.
It runs so good. I still need to do time about water pump and actually work on the car. Other
Yeah.
than just fixing those vacuum leaks and small little issues. But God, I love that car. They're so special, man. And it drives so well. It just going 80 miles an hour on the highway. So I had my wife, she was driving the GX, and I'm like, just stay with me. I don't know what's gonna happen. I haven't driven
Uh
this car
huh.
in years. And she's like, yeah, you said you're gonna drive slow and you're doing 85 the entire time, just flying by everyone on the highway. I mean,
That's like 4,100 RPM in that car.
yeah, seriously, the all-wheel drive's so good. The turbo spools up. The 14B, I love that little turbo. That thing
Hmm.
just comes on pretty fast. But anyway, the fun thing was before I actually took it on that drive, the battery terminal on the positive or on the negative, sorry, had split.
Hmm.
Those old battery terminals, the attachment part where it just after loosening and tightening so many times, it kind of the metal just starts to
Yeah.
fatigue and
The
split.
lead. Yeah.
Yeah, so I had a pair of vice grip locking vice grips on it and a
Brilliant.
towel wrapped around it so it wouldn't ground
So
out.
just arc it on the hood. Yeah.
You know what's up.
Oh yeah.
So I actually replaced that terminal. So I did a safety bit of PCP, safe PCP, if you will.
Yes.
Project Car Project.
Absolutely.
for all the
Fantastic.
narcs listening. Um,
Yeah,
but yeah,
exactly.
no, that was super fun, dude. Really fun driving that guy. I can't wait to restore that. That's probably going to be my forever car. It's so nice. I think it's like 154,000
Hmm.
miles, all original. It just goes so well. I'll do like some fun. I'm gonna do like a Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde thing, like I told you.
Yeah.
So I'll keep everything to transform it back to stock for smog and like whatever reason, and then I'll have it. I'm gonna probably build it as my rally, my go-to like
Yeah.
car because it's kind of perfect for that. So get some cool wheels for it, some really good rubber, and then probably a slightly bigger turbo, 300 wheel horsepower. No, that'll be a
Hell yeah.
blast.
Hell yeah, brother. No, that'd be cool. Into it. Obviously, I having been a, a multiple Galant VR4 owner myself,
Yep, yep.
I am here for it.
Yeah, dude. But you gotta love that. That's what I always say when I do my restorations and everything. I'm like, let a car sit for 5 years. Don't check the oil. Just fucking
Yeah.
drive it, dude.
Yeah, clutch dump it from
I
4K and yeah.
mean, that's a good
Then it,
car, right? Tell me that's not a great car that does
like
that,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Be real.
Real. Trial.
How about you,
Um,
man?
so crossfire talk.
Yeah, it looks like it's moved a little bit,
It's
maybe.
still there. So where we last left our hero, um, I think I talked about how I broke off a screw in the valve cover, right? Did we talk
No,
about that
because
on the pod?
no, because you were at the I just need to do the valve cover gaskets.
Yes.
You
So
were
I
like,
went to do the valve cover gaskets. And
mm,
so valve cover came off, not that big a deal. On the valve cover, I swear we talked about this. So I'll be brief just in case we did. Um, on the valve cover itself, there's what they call a breather cover, which is
mm,
basically there's no PCV valve that you service. There's just like a little like almost like a trap chamber within the valve cover itself that's got a
okay,
cover, and it's held on with silicone and two aluminum screws that hold it onto the valve cover. Okay,
got it.
took it off because it was leaking from that because it's pretty common on these where
Hmm.
that silicone gets old. So take it off, clean it up. Those aluminum screws, they're torqued down to like 6 foot-pounds, like really light. There's
Yeah.
not much, but they're a one-time use screw because
Ah,
they're aluminum.
yep.
Great. I went and got the proper ones. There's you can see on the roof over here. There's a little baggie
Oh,
with the
nice.
proper ones from the dealership. So I got the correct. They retrofit them so they're no longer aluminum. They're a steel screw.
Oh, that's cool.
Cool. Okay. So I go get them. And then I noticed they're like a few millimeters longer than the original one. So I go, okay. So I put everything, I reseal it, I put it on, I go to screw in the new ones, and it feels like they're bottoming out.
Hmm.
Um, and I'm like, it's like a cast aluminum or magnesium, I don't really know, valve cover. It's not like stamped steel. Like, and
Yeah.
so I'm just like, man, I don't want to like, it doesn't need to get torqued down, but in order for me to get it deep enough to where the head of the screw actually touches I'm having to put a little bit of force on it. I'm like, man,
Ooh.
I don't know. This doesn't feel quite right. I know this is like I ordered by VIN from the deal. Like this is supposed to be the part,
Yeah. Yeah.
but I'm a little worried.
Hmm.
Let me just, I only have to torque this thing down to 6 pounds, right? So let me try and reuse these original ones, right? So I don't crack the head.
Sure.
Like putting it on. I barely go to spin it on, and the head just goes weep and twists
Ugh.
right off the head. So I pop the cover off, and it's like flush with the valve cover, not the breather cover, the valve cover. Like shit, I can't get. I try to like,
And I'm sure these are pretty narrow diameter, like bolts.
yeah, they're. I don't remember what it was on a Torx, but they're small.
Ooh.
Okay, fine. So I drill it. I go buy a set of extractors, right? Easy out. I drill it, and there's not a lot of meat because it's real skinny. So
I was gonna
I
say.
put the smallest extractor in there. I get it, and it's aluminum. So that the extractor it starts to bite, and I get it to spin like an eighth, and then it just shreds it.
Comes out, yeah.
And then I keep doing it to the point where like Now I'm like, there's like nothing, there's like no meat on this thing left, and I'm about to start cutting into
Valve cover, right?
valve cover. And I'm like, it's aluminum valve cover. I'm like, fuck.
Oh,
Okay. So now I'm to the point where, well, I can drill it and tap it, which I don't love. Go get a tap set. I only need to get this thing down to like 6 pound-feet. Like I don't need, it doesn't need to hold 180 pound-feet of torque. Like I just need to get it in there to basically hold it in place to so the gasket can seal.
but if it has zero torque, I bet it will leak like a motherfucker.
Right. And so, okay, like, and then if I do that and if I tap it, the likelihood of me getting the threads right that I can reuse this screw is pretty small. So I'm gonna have to use something slightly oversized, and
Yep.
then I risk cracking the valve cover, or it cracks later. And considering I'm gonna sell this car,
Yeah.
and I'm like videoing me doing this shit, I'm not. I'm documenting my fucking failings, which is fine. So I was like, okay, it's like I go buy. It's like okay, let me go look at like buying a tap and tie set. So then I'm looking and I'm like, well, shit. What's a used valve cover going to run me?
That's what I was just gonna ask you. Yeah.
So on eBay, I found a valve cover, a very clean, good used valve cover,
Okay.
$45 delivered
Done.
to
Boom.
my house.
Yep.
So I ordered it. I was just in San Diego. I got back yesterday afternoon. It landed yesterday morning. So it beat me to the house. So it is now here. Um, and that's going to be
What are you gonna do
now.
about fasteners though, bro? What are you
Well, I
gonna
was
do?
going to say, well, I still have. Well, here's the thing. $1 million question is, it came with the breather and everything, and it looks like it probably is sealed okay.
Ooh.
Do I run it or do I take the breather cover off this new valve cover, clean it, reseal it just so I know it's sealed right, and then use these fasteners and hope I don't bottom out, which is
Yeah.
something I don't know a lot about, but I bottom out the bolt into the valve cover and hope I don't crack it. I don't know. I'll probably just get to install this one and then hop to the other side because I still need to do the driver's side. This is just the passenger side, and hope all is well. And hope that like if I just keep spinning this thing down, it's not going to damage anything, and that the Mercedes Benz dealership sold me the correct parts.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that I was just being a little bit, it's a little bit longer, and I was just being dumb, which is distinctly possible. So, yeah, I didn't feel great about me reusing the screw, and sure as shit, it there's a reason why they're one time use only, ladies
Yeah,
and
that
gentlemen.
speaking of like, I remember my Magnum, the head bolts were like that. They were torque to yield or
Yeah,
whatever.
they're torque to yield. Yeah, this isn't torque to yield. It's just like recycled aluminum can aluminum.
I like the new ones though. They're like just long enough to go through the valve cover and foul up your valve train. Perfect.
Yeah, exactly.
That
Yay.
psychological feeling.
Mm-hmm.
It's like when someone puts a bolt back in the wrong place on like a timing belt area and that bolt is rubbing on the belt. I've seen that action
Huh.
before.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
dude, that sucks. I hate little shit like that where like a 5 minute job turns into like a fucking nightmare.
Yeah. I got to wait a week for a part to show up. And that was after I went and waited half a week to go find time to go buy an extractor set. And before that, it was like, oh, I have everything except for these stupid one time use bolts. Let me go to the dealership and get some more. And like, it just drags out what's dumb. Like if I was starting from scratch, right? If I would just gonna order, because you could just buy like a kit on like FCP Euro or whatever, where it's
Mhm.
the gasket and the one time bolts and the this and the that, and you just buy it as a kit. But I already had the gaskets and I already had
Right.
kibbles and bits that came with the car. So yeah, I don't know. And now there's huge holes in my house that I'm stuffing money into, and so I need to sell the car to be able to help offset that nightmare that is home ownership.
That is true.
But anywho, thanks for listening to this one potentially a day later than you would have otherwise,
Yeah.
ladies and gentlemen.
We'll take what we can get at this point, man. But yeah,
Yeah,
it's we wanted to get out there, talk to you guys. I know a little off. We apologize. We're always a dollar short, but we're not usually a day late. So, but at least we got there, man. I think
we
that's what
did.
counts. I think we pulled it together in the final hour. But we do appreciate you guys stopping by. please feel super free to review the podcast. That means a lot to us. Whatever platform you listen to, get our star rating up. We want to get that 5-star review, and if we haven't earned it from you today, let us know what we can do to earn it. But check us out also on YouTube. I want to plug it. We're getting some new subscribers. We're getting some commentary, which
That's
is
what I've
super
heard.
fun. I can't believe you guys are checking it out there, but really appreciate that. We do put every episode out there. Frank, where can the good folks follow your personal endeavors?
Boy. Unfortunately, here in my garage, which is a complete and utter mess and disaster, and now that we're getting people actually paying attention occasionally on YouTube with dozens of subscribers, it makes me want to make my background less of a public national embarrassment. So I'm going to have to do that. But otherwise, you can follow me on the Instagrams and the YouTubes and JDate, and that's at the Photographer's Garage. Otherwise, just follow us here. Keep doing what you're doing. Listen, tag along. We're on the nearly abandoned Instagram page of at APA Podcast. And yeah, we genuinely appreciate the follows and the listens and being part of this dog shit community.
Yeah, and
Um,
I'd say check out my stuff too, but I haven't put up content for
boo this
months now.
man.
Yeah, so
Boo.
if you want to watch historical content,
There you go.
no, I haven't touched anything for 3 months. I got to get back on it. I'm getting some hate mail about not
Yeah.
updating
Well, it's not
projects.
good for you. You're supposed to touch yourself far more frequently than that. Otherwise, like, if you don't, what is it like? If you
If you
don't
don't
use
use
it,
it, you
you
lose
lose
it.
it.
Yeah,
Something to
that's
that
it.
effect.
That's
Yeah.
exactly it, dude.
hmm So you beat yourself up, Chadwick, not to your listener. Although I suppose you can do that, but don't do it while listening to us because that makes me feel weird.
I'm
Maybe
okay
in a good
with it.
way. But yeah, on that fantastically problematic note, goodbye.
Take care, guys. As always, we'll catch you next time.
Toodaloo.
Peace.
Bye.